I now want to shift focus to the other big story. We are focusing here on India today. Uri, Pathankot, Nagrota and now Kupwara. Why are army camps so vulnerable to terror attacks? Why can't the fence be floodlit and electrified? Why can't the army install a web of all-weather CCTV cameras that monitor all developments taking place very close to the fence, or at least install some cameras and some lights in vulnerable spots? Have anti-personnel mines dug in 10 meters in a pit around the fence? There are some options. Let's explore some options that hopefully will not remain confined in files in Ministry of Defence in South Block. Captain Ayush Yadav, Subedar Bhoop Singh and Naik B.V. Ramanna. All three braves may have still been alive if the camp at Pansgam on the outskirts of Kupwara was better protected. Though the camp had a two-tier barbed wire fence and there was a perimeter patrol, the terrorists came down the hill from the side of the firing range virtually unchecked. They breached the fence and opened fire at the army patrol party. Experts say had the fence been floodlit and had there been CCTV cameras, the entire perimeter could have been better monitored from a control room. All-weather CCTV cameras cost anything between 10 and 20,000 a piece. Infrared cameras are more expensive, and a camp ideally would require anything between 30 to 50 cameras. Army's experiment with cameras in a pilot project hasn't been very successful. Sources insist with requirement of frequent repairs and maintenance. Attacks on army camps in Uri, Nagrota and Pathankot exposed lapses in security. The Lieutenant General Philip Compo's committee looking into lapses recommended a number of steps, including more expenditure to increase height of perimeter fence, concrete walls, concertina wire, use of technology to monitor suspicious movement, but most remain confined to files. Experts say some camps have a 10-meter no-go area around the barbed wire fence with anti-personnel mines and a garland of grenades on the barbed wire. Terrorists, through the elaborate network of local informers, know which battalion follows the drills and deploys effective countermeasures, and terrorists stay away from these battalions. While troops on ground need to improve their drills to follow standard operating procedures more diligently, the military and political leadership need to ensure money and technology is made available to our troops on ground. Bureau Report, India Today. Joining me now on the broadcast is Major General Ashok Mehta, a defense analyst. He's commanded a division, knows the situation very well on ground, what needs to be done. But let's take a look first at the lapses in every attack, lapses that were pointing out. Let's talk about the Uri terror attack on the 18th of September 2016. What did the committee found? It found that there was lack of coordination between two guard posts which were barely 150 meters apart. The perimeter fence of the brigade headquarters, it wasn't adequate. The brigade headquarters wasn't adequately fenced. Terrorists sneaked in at night. Before the attack, they went unnoticed. So there was a standard operating procedure that was put in place earlier, that any thick foliage around the fence should be cut down. That was not followed. There was wild grass around the army camp. Let's now go and talk about the Nagrota terror attack, which took place on the 29th of September in 2016. So there was a toll booth that was barely 4 kilometers away from the army camp. It was unmanned. The CCTV cameras that were installed were not working. Terrorists entered, they crossed the line of control, entered India. A week before the attack, the local police failed to check them. They got uniforms that were stitched in India, but the police or the army had absolutely no intelligence. The guard post at the rear entrance, at the rear side of the camp, which was right next to a river or a rivulet, that was unmanned. Given the fact that there had been attacks in the past, the guard post was unmanned. Let's now talk about the Pathankot terror attack. This was on the 2nd of January 2016. And this showed, despite intelligence, the security wasn't put in place. There were credible intelligence inputs specific to Pathankot, specific to the fact that either the air base or the military base, only two bases, either of them could be targeted, and yet the Air Force couldn't get its house in order. There was lack of coordination between various security agencies, whether it's the Army and the Air Force, or the Air Force and the Ministry of Home Affairs, the National Security Guard. So when you had special forces available in Pathankot, why did you have to wait for National Security Guard commandos to come and carry out an operation? Who better than Army commandos to carry out anti-terrorist operations? They were there, but they were not used. Attack could have been averted. There was intelligence, and yet all of this was ignored on ground. The former superintendent, or the ex-Gurdaspur SP, he was abducted by terrorists. He gave this information, but everyone didn't wake up to it. The airbase was poorly lit. It was poorly guarded. There were no electronic sensors. There was no detection movement mechanism. The periphery was not lit up. So a number of problems that were there. And I want to take these questions now to Major General Ashok Mehta. General Mehta, not one, not two, not three, 4 attacks. There have been others that were foiled, but 4 attacks. How is the army so vulnerable?
Well, you know, we've been too long in Jammu and Kashmir. 70 years is a long time. 30 years since the insurgency started. A completely defensive and passive mentality has been created, barring the brief surgical and the modest surgical strikes. But you've listed all the deficiencies, all the shortcomings, and these are elementary infantry procedures that have to be followed to make sure you are not caught on the hop. You have to make sure, since we are not following a policy of deterrence, and it is only by denial, you have to harden your installations by all the things that you have mentioned.
No, so let's take it step by step. You talk about technology, CCTV cameras. Why can't CCTV cameras be installed?
You see, there are 2 things. One is that we should be able to intercept people who have crossed over from the line of control into our territory before they reach the target.
Yes.
That is one thing that we have not tried and we should try.
Okay. So on the bigger picture, I'll come to that. But on specific, considering these are small camps, let's take the Panjgam camp for example. I want to stay on the micro issue for a moment. This Panjgam camp has been there forever. Why can't a higher fence be put in place? Why can't CCTV cameras be installed? Why can't this place be floodlit? Where is the problem?
And why can't a quick reaction team be outside the camp? You, as a defensive measure, you always have an element of the force outside which is in close proximity to this camp. We used to do it when we were in Jammu and Kashmir. We used to do it when we were in Sri Lanka. So I cannot see why you don't have elements outside the camp. But the principle must be that these terrorists, these Fidain who get inside, they must not be, firstly, they must not be able to breach. You should be able to intercept them.
No, but so which means standard operating procedures are not being used.
But more than that, you must not allow, like in Uri, the 2 terrorists got away.
Yes.
In this incident, the most latest, one terrorist who lost his weapon, even he got away.
Yes.
So we cannot allow these people to get away after they have carried out this carnage.
Absolutely. So somewhere down the line, the military needs to look at its junior leadership. It needs to look at drills that are not being followed.
But there's only one problem, that complacency only sets in when this happens. You see, you have to be alert 24/7.
But you know, while that sounds good, you have to be alert. But you know, so some of the young officers and Jawans I've been speaking to, they've been saying that all attacks take place either post-dinner or pre-dawn. When your body is the weakest, its response is between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m.
But Gaurav, this is known to everybody. The point I'm trying to make is that once you're on a post for 6 months, 8 months, and nothing has happened, a certain element of complacency sets in. When you let your guard down, that chap will attack you. This happens throughout in counterinsurgency.
Correct.
And therefore, you cannot afford to let your guard down. And you have to take all denial measures with the use of technology, early warning, intelligence. None of these is not available or cannot be made available.
No, but has anybody paid a price? Is there accountability, or there is no accountability in the army that people get away because there are lives lost? It's a very grateful nation. We are so indebted to our army that internally their checks and balances they don't appear to be coming in.
I'm sure that they are taking some disciplinary action.
But yet another attack is happening. Another attack is happening.
And another attack will happen till as long as we focus only on denial and not deterrence. And deterrence means you do to that chap what he has done to you.
Okay, let me take this one by one, sir. Is a CCTV camera possible? A CCTV camera, and we've been doing some research in all weather conditions, in high altitude areas, whether it's made in Israel or made in Russia or made in any other country, or made, God willing, made in India minus Chinese components. Can CCTV cameras be installed around the perimeter?
Of course. You can have good smart fencing, you can have CCTV, but cost. How are you going to invest? As Philip Campos will tell you, that he has made very comprehensive suggestions, as you have pointed out. Not 1 crore was sanctioned in this budget for that.
So why? It's a selfish question. Till the time government sanctions it, it is to save lives. We don't want to lose another Ayush Yadav. We don't want to lose another Bhoop Singh or a Ramanna. Why can't regimental funds be used for this to do a tactical defense? Let government pay, make the government pay. But till the time government pays, at least have CCTV cameras and floodlights.
Yeah,
how expensive can it be?
Some of this can be done, and your suggestion that to use regimental funds.
There are crores and crores of regimental funds in virtually every regiment.
So this is something that must come from within the unit commanders. How are you going to make yourself feel secure? And the Jawans will like to invest that money so that one horrible day, Fidain don't sneak into your camp and catch you napping.
Oh,
and therefore, some of this can happen, and this can be IOU, the government can pay back.
And make the government, let a chief say, I will not become governor, I will not become ambassador, I'm not looking for anything post-retirement, but make sure the government pays for this. If the government has money to give to some countries elsewhere for foreign policy, or if the government can donate money for other things, I'm sure they can pay money to make our country safer.
Yeah, I think public opinion and people in studios, television, media, that must combine to raise awareness of this. And I think the question asked by Ayush Yadav's father is very, very relevant and topical. How long are we going to continue losing our men? But before you conclude this program, which I know from your looks that you are about to, we must not just focus on defensive and protective measures. For 70 years we've been doing this. It is also time that we started thinking about causing hurt and pain to the other side.
Absolutely.
Because they are using non-state actors, we are losing trained men, we must do to them what they do to us.
And do worse to them.
And must start with that. That deterrence, unless that comes in, Mr. Yadav will continue to ask the question that he has asked.
Yes, I completely agree with you, General. India must impose costs on Pakistan. Terror can no longer be a low-cost option or a no-cost option for Pakistan and its proxies in India.